Susie, I love a good documentary, and that's why I'm very excited about our next guest. Joining us in the studio is local documentarian Jude Kalman. Jude, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Documentarian. That is a cool title.
Yeah, wow, sound really smart.
Yeah, it does.
Well, you've made a documentary. This is fascinating. It's called Uncontained Love Zambia.
Yes.
You follow a shipping container full of donated goods all the way through the process to Zambia.
Yes, that's correct. This is the second part to the series. The
Right,
first series
yes.
we followed the containers, and this series we're in the land of Zambia and we're meeting the people that received the donations. So.
This is an incredible idea because, you know, we're all involved with, I'm sure most people are involved with charity. We've got a vague idea of how it happens. But this actually, you're following it through. People get to see the whole process. What inspired you to do this? Make this documentary?
Yeah, I guess just what you said, you know, like a lot of people do give, but you don't really see the other side.
Yes. And we live in an age of skepticism, don't we?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
So friends of mine, I guess they've been doing this work for 16 years and I just wanted to show everyone the amazing work they were doing.
What's their organisation called?
To the Nations.
To the Nations? Give them a shout out.
Yeah, totally. They're amazing. And yeah, they've been doing it for the last 16 years, you know, going into these nations, not just Zambia, all throughout Africa. And a lot of the donations have been made from Gold Coasters.
Right.
And right up to Bundaberg as well. So, yeah, I just wanted to show people and, you know, where a donation goes and how it affects somebody in someone's life. So.
Now, I understand that you filmed this using equipment you've borrowed from your day job.
Yes, true story.
Tell us about that. That's very ingenious.
Well, my bosses are really generous. They're
Right.
amazing. And basically, it's funny, when I was in Africa, everyone's like, wow, you're so amazing. And the guy I was traveling with just laughed and he's like, she doesn't own a car. She doesn't own a camera, but she's in the middle of Africa filming for us. And yeah, that was even a donation itself.
Yeah.
So, and
But
even that's helping people.
But that's what making these documentaries are all about, right? Is being ingenious. It's coming up with solutions to
Yeah.
how am I going to shoot this? How am I going to get this footage?
Yeah.
And just gone out there and got the equipment and got the contacts and made it all happen.
Yeah. Well, I guess you go in stealth as well, so nobody really went in under the radar, and people don't know really what you're doing. So it's really cool. It's a good way to get a story.
What was the hardest part that you had to shoot? What was the most difficult shot that you got in there?
This time around, it's more heartbreaking than hard.
Right.
I guess this time around I had the privilege of going into people's homes. So for me, that really hammered my heart because, you know, I have an amazing job and I get to meet all kinds of people all the time, and some are wealthy and some are, you know, well known or whatever. And then I just found myself in these people's homes, and it's their sanctuary, and they're poor, but they're so beautiful and they're so full of pride, you know, they're not like sad. They're like, come into my beautiful home, and it's this one shack little, and it really smells, and it's just humbling. You just go, wow, like people live like this.
Yeah.
Was there someone you met who really has stuck with you in your mind?
Oh, there's heaps of people I've met. I could go on and on, but I know one day I was really the day that I met this man. He had malaria and he got paralysed, and he was given a wheelchair through the donations. And I remember just sitting there, his house just really smelt so bad, and you know, but again, he invited me into his home to film, and you know, and he shared his story, and he was just so thankful, and just seeing the power and of just a simple act of generosity and kindness, and how much it's changed his life. But that just happened time and time again. And even when I was editing the doco, I was just struggling to tell every story, because there's so many stories and so many lives, and you just think, wow, like it's so easy for us to give, but it makes such a massive, I can't express how much of a massive impact it makes to someone's life, one person, and thousands and of people.
I've seen people return from developing nations with different responses. One response I've seen people return with is, I just have to give as much as I can now and do all that I can to make a difference for those in need. Another response I've seen is, I have been given such a gift living where I live, and I have to make the most of my opportunities now. I owe it to the people who don't have my opportunity to make the most of the opportunities that I have here. Which one do you think is closest to who you've come back as?
Oh, I could be both, but probably the second.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a massive believer that we are so blessed in this nation. We are loaded and it's too easy to give. So, yeah, it makes you realise too, we're so free. The next doco is in Nigeria, and that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
And coming from that, I just realised what an amazing country we live in. As a woman, the opportunities I have as well. So, yeah, it makes me, even though sometimes I'm scared, I'll just, to go for it, because we live, and we're in a position where it's too easy to help someone else.
Absolutely. To the Nations, do they work mostly in African nations then, obviously?
Yep, yeah. So To the Nations is headed up by Chris Shabot and his wife Ange. Chris is a Gold Coast boy. He's actually from up north, but they live half and half. So they live here on the Gold Coast, and then they live in Zambia as well, because Ange is Zambian. So when they're on the Gold Coast, they're kind of going around and packing containers and things like that. And then when they're in Zambia, they're distributing the donations. So, yeah.
This has been so fascinating. I've completely lost track of time. We need to play another song. But it's so great to meet you, to hear all about Uncontained Love, the documentary. Are you going to have a screening of it?
Yes.
If we want to come check it out, the documentary, where can we see it?
Totally. You got to go to the Art Centre. It's free. So I'm giving away free tickets today.
Awesome.
Just crack myself up about that.
Yeah, usually this would be the point where we go, ring in, you can win some free tickets. Just go down and
Just
you get
go
the
and
free
it's free.
tickets.
Walk in.
When is that happening?
So it's on the 19th of October, which is a Monday night. It's at 7:00, and yeah, go to the Art Centre. Again, those guys have donated the theatre.
Wonderful.
For the screening. So every single person that's given into this, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show and making such an amazing documentary, Jude.
Thanks for having me.